We're building a combination manual motor starter using Fuji components offered by Automation Direct. I'm Carrie Scheiber, and this is part 2, selecting the components. A combination motor starter is configured using 4 major components: a manual motor starter for circuit protection and manual starting and stopping of the motor, a contactor for switching the voltage to the motor, a link module for connecting the manual motor starter and contactor together, and a base plate for mounting all of the components together. Step 1. Determine the frame size. We will use combination starter selection tables to help select our components. These tables are available in the Automation Direct catalog or in the Technical Support Fuji Motor Control Selection Guide on our website. For motors from 1/2 to 10 horsepower at 240 volts or 3/4 to 20 horsepower at 480 volts, we can use the 45 mm frame width. For motors from 3 to 20 horsepower at 240 volts or 5 to 40 horsepower at 480 volts, we can use the 55 mm frame. You may have noticed that some of the motor horsepowers are available in both the 45 mm and 55 mm frame sizes. So how do you determine which one is right for your application? If you are using other 55 mm frames in the larger horsepower range, then you may want to use all 55 mm frames. Otherwise, use the 45 mm frame, which will save panel space and it costs less than the 55 mm frame. We'll be using a 30 horsepower motor at 480 volts, which means we will be using a 55 mm frame. Step 2. Select a manual motor starter. We will be using the 55 mm selection table. Let's start by finding the correct voltage and horsepower. When looking at the selection table, you will notice there are 2 choices for a 30 horsepower motor. This is because there are different adjustable current overload ranges available for the 30 horsepower motor. To determine which range to use, we must look at the nameplate on the motor. If the full load amp rating is 40 amps with a service factor of 1.15, then multiply 40 times 1.15, which equals 46 amps. Therefore, we will select the MMS with a range of 35 to 50 amps, which is part number BM3 VHB-050 found in column A. Step 3. Select a contactor. Now that we have the MMS, we will follow across the table to column B. Column B lists a contactor available for the MMS. There are 2 contactors shown, but 4 are available. The contactor is selected based on the coil voltage. The coil voltage is determined by your control voltage. For a 110 volt AC coil, select part number SC-E2S-110 VAC. For a 220 volt AC coil, replace the 10 VAC with 220 VAC. The same for a 24 volt AC coil. If using a 24 volt DC coil, select part number SC-E2SG-24 VDC. We are using a 110 volt AC coil, so we will select the part number SC-E2S-110 VAC. Step 4. Select a link module. Continue to follow across the table to the next column, column C. The link module part number is BZ0LVE51AA. Step 5. Select the base plate. Go to the last column, column D, and select the base plate. The part number is BZ0BPVE51A. Step 6. Using in a UL Type E application. If using in a UL Type E application, there must be a visible means of indicating which type of function has occurred. Therefore, a short circuit alarm contact block, part number BZ0TKUAB, must be installed. We are now ready to assemble the combination motor starter.